Hey there, crewmates. Gabe from Nexus Core here with another video, and I'm very excited to go over this one because this is going to be going over our first look at the color black for the One Piece card game, because as I and some others have tended to forget, the One Piece card game is actually intended to have a total of 6 colors. They just wanted to throw us in on the shallow end with starting out with the 4 that we got. However, we do have 2 more, being black, and I believe the last one that we're still waiting on is yellow. So, shoutouts again to Orange Samurai D for providing the translation, who provided the translation from Helio from the One Piece card game Discord. So I wanted to make a full video over this. This is going to be a lot shorter than my other ones. I say before knowing how long this is going to be because I haven't scripted it yet. Because I think this card has a lot, is very has a lot going for it, and it's also because of it's the first look at the color black. I think it shows a lot of what we can expect to see, and maybe we can also do a bit of theorizing as to what some other cards that we should expect to see in the color once we get set to. So, the leader is Sakazuki. Makes sense. He's our fleet admiral after all. So he is our first black leader from start deck 6 because they are getting their own start deck. I also believe from the information we got that the start deck will be coming with other famous or well-known in the fan base Marines. I believe it's confirmed that we're going to get Garp and a Kobe, which I believe Helmeppo, and if we don't get Helmeppo, I'd be surprised because we have Garp and Kobe. But without all of that out of the way, his actual effect is active during the main phase once per turn. You can rest 3 Dawn to trash 1 card from your hand to KO one of your opponent's characters that costs 0. So this is immediately very interesting because as of now, we do not have a single character that is actually worth 0. So that, I was going to say imply, but it pretty much outright states that we're going to have cards that interact with your opponent's cost as to how the color is going to operate. It also implies that black is going to be like purple with another control-oriented strategy, meaning that we might see an interesting purple leader at some point just to marry those two. But his effect is a bit more reserved than I think what we've come to expect from at least the Kaido purple ones, because Kaido is Dawn -7 to trash a life, whereas this is -3 in a discard. So this has effectively the same cost as the Kid leader, but instead of restanding, you can KO an opponent's character for free. I think because of that, this leader, of course we can't say because the support isn't out yet in full. I am inclined to give it to rank this a B. I've heavily underestimated Kid as a leader. If I could amend that old video, I would easily put him in A, high A. But I think the issue is, while being able to KO a character for free and that doesn't even need to be rested is good, I feel like in a lot of cases I would rather have the restand available, especially because this does cost 3, and because nothing costs 0 yet, you're presumably going to have to pay other costs to reduce the cost of your opponent's character. So unlike Kid, which you can just do if you have nothing else to do, this does require some setup. But I think a lot of the cards, as I said, are going to be interacting with your opponent's cost, and I think there's a lot of interesting ways they can take it. My first idea is Bandai can actually use stages, because we only have 2 still, and they're only from start decks. None of them were in Romance Dawn, so maybe we could get a Marineford stage that, since Onigashima gives 1 Dawn a turn and is rested, and Thousand Sunny rests to give 1,000, I think the expectation using those as a metric means that we could get a Marineford stage that's rest itself to reduce a character's cost by 1 or 2 or something. Other cards that can do it in general. Maybe other effects like, oh, if your opponent has if it has a character that costs 0 or whatever or less, draw some cards or draw or whatever. I think this can definitely go a lot of interesting ways, because you can manipulate the opponent's cost and use that as a pseudo cost, because instead of actually paying a cost, it's a requirement you need to fulfill for the draw. And then after doing that, you can go KO something with Sakazuki. And I think this is quite interesting because a lot of the other control things we've seen either are, this is probably one of the least restrictive ones for the most part. Purple makes you go Dawn minus. Green, for with the example of Killer and Diaz Drake, your opponents needs to have them rested. Red, with cards like Robin and Jet Pistol, they need to be below a certain power threshold. And having this effect be on a leader, if it is a thing we can continuously do, I think gives him some decent potential. My knee jerk reaction after not having any other black card revealed is I think this deck is going to be fine. I do have some worries that it seems as though it could kind of it runs a line of this could be either very uh, too good or too balanced because of what you could do with it. Yes, Sakazuki is once per turn, but if you are able to, say, reduce a card's cost by like 8 and you could ignore Kid, then I think that would be a bit broken. I don't think they're going to do that immediately. That could be a thing way down the line. But I think an ability like this definitely warrants at least a little bit of pause. And it does make me wonder how they are going to balance this because there needs to be, I feel as though, a certain degree of how much you can reduce a character's cost by, and how else we do that, and other forms of control, because we know black is going to be a control-oriented strategy. Is it just going to be the cost thing, or are there going to be other ways of doing it? And see, yeah, I think this is really all I can get out of what we have so far because everything else is just mindless speculation. I've already done enough of that already, but I do think this is a quite interesting card, and I like how, from what we've seen, every color has means of control, but they do it in a lot of different ways. As I said, green does it if they're rested. You could even technically throw in Hawkins with that because he can attack direct a rested character, and red does it by power. Purple can just kind of do it. It's relative to cost, but you have to go Dawn minus to do it. This is a lot like purple, where instead of going Dawn minus, you have to tap, but you have a much more strict what the cost has to be because you have things in purple like Who's Who, that's 3 or less. You have either Kings, which are either 3 and 2 or less, or 4 or less. You have Kaido, which is 6 or less, and the other Kaido, which is just a board wipe. And I think it's really interesting how a lot of decks get these control options, but do it in different but unique ways. I also forgot to mention blue, which can either bounce cards to the hand or just return them to the bottom of the deck with things like Mihawk. So I think this is very interesting. I'm very excited to see the more black cards we get from the start deck going over. Let me know if you would prefer it if I did more videos like this where I went over every single card as we reviewed it. If you would like it if I did say a weekly wrap up of every cards we got over a week, or just go over set reviews as a whole and then go over big reveals like new colors, new leaders, and so on. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.